Hello and welcome, my name's Tabby and today I'm going to be reviewing Amy Poehler's latest Netflix original film, Moxie. Based on a novel by Jennifer Mathieu, it centres on an introverted 16-year-old girl called Vivian and the zine she publishes to fight back against a toxic and sexist school environment. Inspired by her mum's own rebellion-filled youth, she and her friends come together to explore what it is to be a young, modern-day intersectional feminist. Moxie was never going to be a subtle film. It's proudly bursting onto the scene right in time for Women's History Month, a high-energy, uncompromising capsule to the female gaze. And I love that. The days of subtlety should be behind us. Growing up, there was a distinct lack of media that celebrated female solidarity and female friendship. That's why Olivia Wilde's Booksmart was such a breath of fresh air when it was released a couple of years ago. It's still staggering just how many films continue to fail the Bechdel test, the bare minimum of two named female characters having an on-screen conversation about something other than a man. There is a long history of women, particularly black and minority ethnic women, being sidelined both on and off the screen. Amy Poehler's production company is doing its part to fight against that. The core cast and crew on Moxie is predominantly female. My point is, people have a right to be furious. I'm reviewing this off the back of finishing Florence Given's Women Don't Owe You Pretty, a book I would recommend to everyone. I was taken aback by one statistic in particular. There are more CEOs named John than there are female CEOs. That's ridiculous. That should make you angry. So when Moxie tackles intersectional feminism for a teen audience and does so directly, I commend it for how blasé it is. If this film equips even one teenage girl with the knowledge, the confidence and the vocabulary to begin questioning the world around her, it's already done more than my high school education ever did. What I love most about Moxie is that these young women feel authentic. This isn't one person's story, this is a collective movement. They're all responsible and all have a part to play. Poehler talks about why she was drawn to the project and how she felt it was important that a young audience could watch this film and find a character that they identified with. That's important stuff. Representation matters. Alycia's character, Lucy, is all kinds of iconic. A character who joins the new school year already equipped with the vocabulary to begin dismantling toxic behaviours and ingrained sexism. She questions the school curriculum, refuses to make herself smaller for the comfort of others, and never compromises on her identity. She hypes up her fellow women and educates them without talking down to them. Through her and her interactions, we begin to observe and recognise microaggressions, as well as outright targeted bullying. Without her, the film would fall apart. Through these characters, the film also tackles sexism within team sports, with regard to funding and school attendance, dress code, more on that later, and the classroom. I can't begin to tell you how many times a male student has talked over me in a seminar. But because the film highlights intersectional feminism, it tackles the issues that can arise from cultural disparities too. Women supporting women regardless of sexuality, economic status, religion, nationality or race. We sincerely love to see it. One character I found particularly interesting was Principal Shelley, because she's a fantastic example of how women also need to be held accountable when they participate in sexist behaviours. I want to use an example from my own history in the hopes that it will add to the authenticity of the portrayal in Moxie. One morning during sixth form, all the girls were asked to attend a separate assembly. The boys went off somewhere else. Our head of year, a female teacher, was talking to us. Instead of using this 20 minutes to build a sense of morale amongst the female community, bearing in mind there were still proportionally fewer girls than boys in the school, we got a telling off. Our skirts, she said, were too short. They were distracting for male students and made male faculty members uncomfortable. I remember at the time we were suitably outraged, but we hadn't really been given the education, the vocabulary or the confidence to challenge it. Having said that, some of my peers did complain and I respect them a huge amount for doing so, but in the end we received no apology and the sexist dress code remained in place. Why on earth was this female teacher standing there waggling her finger at a picture of Kate Middleton in a billowing dress, stating that she should have checked the weather forecast and dressed accordingly? Of course, the fact that a male paparazzi photographer had taken an invasive, opportunistic photograph of her and published it on the internet was of no consequence. It was Kate Middleton's fault for not wearing trousers, a garment that, interestingly enough, female students lower down in my school were not allowed to wear. What kind of message does that send to young women? Looking back on it now, I'm honestly disgusted. Now, I'd never forgive myself if I ended this without briefly mentioning Nico's character, Seth. I love him. I desperately need more himbo representation in cinema, and I mean himbo as an absolute compliment. A male character with no malicious agenda who respects women and glides through the world being genuinely decent. I like to think that people like him do exist out there in the real world, someone who's egoless and considerate. I wish I had discovered intersectional feminism in my teen years. I wish there had been a film that told me I was valid when I feared the threats and verbal abuse of a male student. A film that rolled its eyes alongside me when a male peer cut in to take my point in a classroom discussion. A film that teaches women to build each other up, not tear each other down. Moxie doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a film I would have cherished at that age. It's the film I wish I could gift my 15-year-old self. I'm giving Moxie an 8 out of 10, and it's available on Netflix from today, the 3rd of March. And that's all from me. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like down below, let me know what you think of Moxie in the comments, and if you want more reviews, discussions, film festival coverage and countdowns, be sure to subscribe. Until next time.